here that I want to mention to you. Fertilization, usually, now all of you make sure you remember this. Fertilization normally occurs about 1/3 of the way down the fallopian tube. That's the normal. That's the normal. About 1/3. Now that would probably be on your test. Fallopian tube, uterine tube, whatever you want to call it. Okay, that's where it normally occurs. All right, now then, most often, now this is going to be also a question on your test. Fertilization most often takes place within 24 hours after ovulation. Always remember that if you don't ovulate, you don't get pregnant. I've had people miss, really seriously, they didn't quite understand that. But ovulation has to occur before pregnancy will occur. And that's what the birth control pills do. They suppress ovulation. If ovulation is suppressed, you will not get pregnant, you females. All right, now right here, everybody, most often within 24 hours after ovulation. Now there is cleavage and formation of the morula or marula. All right, now about the 36-hour stage you see at the top. Each one of these things is called a blastomere. There's the 48 hours, 96 hours, and it's moving down the tube, which I will show you. The blastocyst, which we'll talk about. The trophoblast is there's the inner trophoblast. We'll talk about that a little bit. Inner cell mass is the main thing here. That's what will develop into the embryo. The inner cell mass. Be sure you'll have that in a minute. Again, that's just kind of showing you that sort of thing. Now, right here is just a timeline. That is just a little bit of a timeline. And notice fertilization usually occurs within 12 to 24 hours after fertilization. And here are the sperm cells right there. They're about 1/3 of the way, supposedly. Then we have right here cleavage. First cleavage completed about 30 hours after fertilization. Moves on down. It's constantly moving. Is it static? Is it static? No. There are cleavage patterns taking place. There's the marula. I don't know if people pronounce that marula or marula. I just say marula. And then it's in the blastocyst. That's kind of like the blastula stage. Now, here's what you need to occur. You need to make sure you write this down. Implantation normally occurs about 6 days after fertilization. Make sure you got that down somewhere. Make sure you have that on your deal. Implantation normally occurs about 6 days after fertilization. Make sure you got that one under control. Okay? All right, so where does fertilization normally occur? About 1/3 of the way. It normally occurs within 12 to 24 hours after ovulation. After ovulation. Everybody knows what ovulation is. Ovulation is where the secondary oocyte is released from the Graafian follicle. That technically is what ovulation is. It's not the egg that's released. All right, and then there it is right there. That's just kind of showing you how this all works, how it begins to set up. All right, now, getting on with this just a little bit. Right here, there's the blastocyst. There's an opening of an endometrial gland. There's symphyllum. There's the blastocyst. That's just kind of showing through the uterus there. External view about 6 days after fertilization. All right, now right here, now, let me show you this right here. Trophectoderm, the trophoblast, the outer covering of this is called the trophectoderm. Trophectoderm is made up of cytotrophoblast and cytotrophoblast, sensitrophoblasts. Now, this area right in here will make up most of what's called the chorion. And the chorion is responsible for most of the placenta. And so, this right is ectoderm, endoderm, and so forth, amniotic cavity, etc. All right, here's the blastocecal cavity, the amniotic cavity, and this is the internal view about 7 days after fertilization. There's an endometrial gland kind of showing that. This inner cell mass, that's what the embryo develops from. Make sure you understand the inner cell mass is what the embryo develops from. These two things right here, sensitrophoblasts, or cytotrophoblast, sensitrophoblasts is pronounced sensitrophoblaст, cytotrophoblast. That makes up, this is what the placenta, this is actually, these areas right here are actually responsible for the chorion. And the chorion will make up the majority, which I'll explain to you in just a minute, make up most of what's called, obviously, the placenta. And so this is the way this is working. And this chorion, this will actually, right in here, begin to produce hormones. That's where the human chorionic gonadotrophin comes from, right in through there. That's kind of the way that begins working. Now let's look at the next slide right here. This said sperm. Now, one thing I want to make you aware of, right? We'll come back to that too. Sperm movement and capacitation. Now, what this means, they may get there in a few minutes or a few hours, depends. All right, now, capacitation. What this means is freshly deposited spermatozoa are not capable of fertilizing a secondary oocyte. They're not capable. All right, because the acrosome is a very tough structure. And it has to, the membranes have to be broken to release the hyaluronidase and proteinases. And so it takes moving down the female reproductive tract. This is how this is going to occur. I put right here, freshly deposited sperm are not capable of fertilizing an ovum. They're not capable. And so the membrane is too tough to break and release enzymes necessary for dissolving the zona pellucida. So what happens, capacitation occurs mostly in the uterine tube. In other words, what is the uterine tube, Jamie? Uterine tube is what? You know that as the what? You know that as the fallopian tube. So capacitation occurs mostly, capacitation means, everybody, getting ready to fertilize. In other words, even in the body of the uterus, you see that spermatozoa are released. They go through the cervix, through the uterus, through the body of the uterus, to the tubes. In the uterus, they're not capable of even fertilizing. They're not capable. It takes a while, usually about 7 hours, before they're even capable of fertilizing an ovum, or fertilizing a secondary oocyte. So right here, that's off the internet right there. That's just showing spermatozoa, the zona pellucida, the cytoplasm of the secondary oocyte, corona radiata. That's just showing some of that stuff. In other words, path of the sperm, corona radiata, zona pellucida, plasma membrane of the secondary oocyte, and cytoplasm. That's just showing the route right there. And there's a secondary polar body. That thing will disintegrate. That's just kind of showing. Now, we're going to talk about block to polyspermy. What ensures that only one of them get there? All right, so we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Oh, I didn't even do why I do that. Let's touch this thing. Okay, here we go. All right, now, right here. Okay, now, secretions of the female reproductive tract results in the removal, or secretions in the female reproductive tract, removal of cholesterol and other chemicals from the plasma membrane of the acrosome may take several hours, say 7, for the membrane to be broken down so that the acrosomal enzymes can be released. Or secretions of the female reproductive tract are going to be detrimental to the acrosomal end and cause the release of these enzymes necessary for dissolving away the corona radiata and the zona pellucida and getting to what's referred to as the female pronuclei. So all that is it's just the biology of all that stuff, kind of the way it works. All right, so kind of keep that in mind. And right here, everybody, right here, it says acrosomal reaction. The release of the acrosomal enzymes. Now be sure you know these acrosomal enzymes. They're going to be hyaluronidase, acrosin proteases. They actually digest holes in the corona radiata. Okay, everybody got that down pretty good?